Queen are a British rock band formed in London in 1970 that went on to become one of the world's most influential bands. Today we'll be exploring the story of Queen from their formation to the present day. My name is Will, and let's explore the history of Queen. Brian May was born in Middlesex in 1947 and attended the local Hanworth Road State Primary School. He went on to gain his GCEs at Hampton Grammar School as well. In 1963, he went on to build his own guitar, the Red Special, from an old mantelpiece with his dad, Harold May. In 1963, May went on to form the band 1984 with Middlesex-born Tim Staffel. Although this band supported the likes of T-Rex and Pink Floyd, May soon moved on to form the band Smile with Staffel and keyboardist Chris Smith. A newcomer would join the band, however, this being Roger Taylor. Roger Taylor was born in 1949 in Norfolk and went on to study dentistry at the London Hospital Medical College, although he did get bored of this eventually and then went on to study biology in East London. While attending Ealing Art College, Staffel became friends with Freddie Bulsara. Bulsara originated from Zanzibar and had moved to the UK so that his dad could continue his job. He went on to study fashion design before switching to graphic and art design. Having a keen interest in the band Smile, Freddie asked if he could join as lead singer, but May felt Staffel would not give up that title. When Staffel left Smile in 1970, the remaining members accepted Bulsara as lead singer and recruited Taylor's friend, Mike Gross, as bassist. Bulsara suggested that the group should be called Queen at this time, and also change their surname to Mercury. The group started out by playing various rock and roll covers, but found themselves stuck when their producer John Anthony thought they had the wrong bass player. As such, John Deacon joined the band in 1971. Originally born in 1951, John Deacon took an interest in electronics from an early age, and even studied it at Chelsea College in London. The band went on to play their first act with the official lineup in July of that year. Whilst at Delane Lea Studios, Queen recorded 5 of their own songs as demos. These included Keep Yourself Alive and Liar. With interest growing from promoters, the band almost signed with Charisma Records, but turned down the offer. The band then sealed the deal with Neptune Productions, a subsidiary of Trident. After a slew of unsuccessful performances, the band stopped performing to work on their new album. David Bowie was growing in fame at the time, so they knew that they needed to make a big impact with their debut album. And, after initial clashes with co-producers, the unreleased album was promoted in a half-finished state. Still unsigned, Trident managed to seal a deal with EMI Records, and Keep Yourself Alive was released as a single. This led to the release of the album, Queen. The album was received well, but drew little mainstream attention, and retrospectively, however, it was viewed favourably by guitarists and musicians alike. In August of 1973, they began work on their second album, Queen 2, making use of the full recording facilities available. Procession sees the use of multi-layer guitars, whilst the Fairy Teller's Masterstroke sees lyrics based on a painting of the same name. The group toured for the rest of the year in support of Mott the Hoople, which drew attention to the band. In March of 1974, Queen 2 was released, which now features their famous album cover depicting the 4 members. The album put the band in the limelight, gaining the number 5 slot on the British album charts, and, rightly so, it features a layered sound that would become a huge part of their style. And though critical reaction was mixed, it set the band up for additional tours and performances. In May of 1974, Brian suffered with hepatitis and was initially absent for the recording of their third album. Sheer Heart Attack was released in 1974, featuring a variety of songs that went on to enhance the musical themes of Queen. Stretching guitar solos, ballads and harmonies filled the album. The single, Killer Queen, reached number 2 on the British charts and became their first hit in the US. When they began touring, however, several dates were cancelled after Freddie Mercury contracted laryngitis. This disaster turned into a success when they were greeted by thousands of screaming fans in Japan. Despite their success, they were all living in relative poverty thanks to a dodgy deal with Trident. The negotiation ended up with the band being signed with Elton John's manager, John Reid. This allowed the band to work on their 4th album, A Night at the Opera. It became the most expensive album ever produced at the time and features myriad musical styles. There's of course Bohemian Rhapsody, but also romps like Lazing on a Sunday Afternoon and epic storytelling in the Prophet song. The story of Bo Rap deserves its own video, but to put it shortly, the song was given to radio DJ Kenny Everett on the condition he didn't play it live. Subsequently, he played it 14 times over the weekend, to massive success. The band was forced to release it as a single, where it reached number 1 in the UK for 9 weeks. The massive success of the album cemented it as one of the greatest rock albums of all time. Queen returned to the recording studio in 1976 to record what is considered the sequel to A Night at the Opera, this being A Day at the Races. The album follows similar musical themes, mostly seen in Somebody to Love, which features gospel choir and stunning piano arrangements. The heavy guitar aspects are continued in Tie Your Mother Down. For the tour of the album, Queen performed a sold-out show at Madison Square Gardens in New York. Following this, the band continued at speed, releasing their sixth album in 1977, this being A News of the World. The band wanted to create tailor-made anthems for audience interaction, and these songs became We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions. They toured these songs heavily, cementing the band as a mainstay of the music industry at the time. Their success continued in 1978 with the album Jazz, with hit singles like Don't Stop Me Now, Fat Bottom Girls and Bicycle Race. During the following tours, they would also release a single for Crazy Little Thing Called Love, an Elvis-esque song that would see them into their following album, The Game. The Game featured another one of their most influential songs, that being Another One Bites the Dust. Michael Jackson saw the success of the song and told the band to release a single. Despite their previous pro-hard rock stance, the album is the first to see synthesizers, marking a change in the band that would last through the 80s. These synthesizers were then prominent on their next album, a soundtrack for the film Flash Gordon. In February of 1981, they travelled to South America as part of the Game Tour and felt really under the spotlight. The entire industry was waiting for their next move at the height of their career. They were on top of the world. The shows in South America were massive. This massive fame continued when they released a single for Under Pressure in collaboration with David Bowie, whom they had previously competed with in the early days. The single topped the UK charts and was followed by a greatest hits compilation. 1982 brought about Hot Space, a clear departure from their previous albums. In Munich during the recording, there was infighting with the band. Whilst Deacon and Mercury favoured the dance style that they were moving toward, May and Taylor resented this and were critical of Paul Prenter's management of Freddie. Prenter loathed rock music and was in Mercury's ear the whole time, whilst also telling radio stations to get stuffed. Though the album was critically acclaimed, it still confused many fans. Some even heckled the band at some gigs, to which Mercury said, "Go home if you don't like it." With the conclusion of the Hot Space tour, May departed to explore a solo project, this being Strange Frontiers. Despite this, he returned to the band in 1984 to release their 11th studio album, The Works. This album was a return to form, with songs like Hammer to Fall and Radio Gaga. Although it failed to do well in the US, it found massive success in the UK. They did tour in South Africa, but this brought the band massive criticism due to the apartheid. After a sellout show at Rio, the band went on to perform one of their most famous performances at Live Aid. This was the band's height as far as I'm concerned. They were at the top of their game. 1985 saw the release of One Vision and Thank God It's Christmas. One Vision would later release as part of the album A Kind of Magic, containing songs that would be worked into the film Highlander. It was less successful in the US than the UK, but that was standard for the band at this point. Their Magic tours were also some of the most successful of their career, with Nebworth Park being the spiritual end for the band. Brian May recalled Mercury saying, "I'm not going to be doing this forever, this is probably the last time." Something was wrong, but this was something that would soon be revealed. Only 2 months after this concert, tabloid News of the World and The Sun confronted Mercury and reported that he was tested for HIV/AIDS. Fans noticed his gaunt appearance in 1988, and he passed it off as exhaustion from his time in the music industry. Freddie had been diagnosed in 1987, however, but did not make his illness known to many. After working with Montserrat Caballé, Freddie rejoined with the band to release The Miracle. The Miracle saw each member gain equal accreditation for the songs, something that hadn't been done before. It's a fantastic album, but one that leads them to their last with the original lineup, Innuendo. The music videos for the album, including The Show Must Go On, show a gaunt Freddie Mercury. May was concerned that Freddie wouldn't be able to go ahead with the album. Instead, Freddie kept asking the band to write more stuff for him to sing. He had no fear. In November of that year, Freddie prepared a statement that he had AIDS. Within 24 hours of that statement, he passed away with bronchial pneumonia. In memory of Freddie, a tribute concert was held in 1992, which features an insane lineup of musicians and artists. In 1995, Made in Heaven was released to commemorate Freddie's life and to use up the rest of the material that they had recorded. The album features the poignant track Mother Love, which features a verse from Freddie Mercury. The rest of the song is finished by Brian May, after Freddie Mercury was unable to complete it. Queen returned to the studio, however, in 1997 to record No One But You, a track dedicated to Freddie. Then again, they united to do a performance with Elton John. John Deacon would leave the band after this, however, and chose to retire. After receiving various rewards, Brian and Roger would again reunite in 2004 with Paul Rodgers. They did a world tour and even released an album called The Cosmos Rocks. In the present, Queen are touring with Adam Lambert, a singer who found fame on American Idol. They did release Queen Forever in 2014, largely featuring unheard material, and Face It Alone in 2022. I've barely scratched the surface of the ins and outs of their time as a band, the controversies, the drama, the highs and the lows. To cover it all would take days, but for now, I hope this gives you a nice overview of the band. My name is Will, and thanks for watching.